Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men with power want? More power.
And now, broadcasting live on GMN from an undisclosed location in the Arizona desert. Italian by birth, American by choice. Songwriter, poet, freedom activist, Luca Zanna with Love, Guns, and Freedom.
All systems go.
Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us.
Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. Today is very interesting show. Every Sunday, a new show, new news, sometimes more disturbing, sometimes less disturbing, but today I think it's something every one of us, every one of you should stop everything you're doing. If you're driving, don't stop, keep driving, but you should really pay attention because this is happening to all of us. Now we have today with us as a special guest a true domestic terrorist. And no, he doesn't have the rag over his head. He doesn't drive a camel. He doesn't wave an RPG. He's just an American citizen. He's a law-abiding American citizen. Probably he's more American than many Americans I know. And unfortunately now, because our government can say so without any type of due process, just because they feel like it, they can put you on this domestic terror list and treat you like a criminal, humiliate you in front of your family, in front of your fellow Americans, and pretty much destroy your life. If this does not disturb you, you better change channel because I don't want to even talk to you, seriously. This is something very serious. They used to say before, during the time of Hitler, at first they came for the gay people, and then they came for the Jews, and then they came for the communists, I'm just paraphrasing it. And then they came for me, and there was nobody to help me out. Pretty much that's the story. If we do not do something right now, we don't get involved to understand that our due process, our basic constitution and Bill of Rights, it's gone. And the government has the absolute power to pretty much declare us enemy combatant and domestic terrorist. This is something that our generation, our next generation, they're going to make us pretty much feel sorry about it because I can't believe we're going to leave this type of America to people coming after us, and also for us. This is already happening. Today I have with me a man that I really respect a lot. I had a chance to meet him in person not that long ago. It was April 2014, in the middle of the desert, the Mesquite Desert. His name is Ammon Bundy. He's the son of Clyde Bundy, one of the men that I think really is going to be part of history of this American resistance against tyranny. Ammon, are you there?
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Very good, man. And, I met you, remember, when I watched the video that was playing on YouTube when you were being tased. You were tased just because you wanted to take some photos about military or paramilitary men training rifles on you, an armed man. You were detained and tased. And just remind a little bit briefly to the listener what happened to you then, so the people understand exactly what's going on with your family, what happened really a few months ago down at the Bundy's ranch.
Yeah, in April, early April, 5 federal agencies got together and around 200 fully armed men came and surrounded the ranch and put it under siege. Around 50% of these men were mercenaries. They're actually hired hands to be snipers and to be militants. And they basically began to they locked down the land. They began to collect the cattle. They were doing this in a manner that was very aggressive, and they were killing many of the cattle, both from the air and from the ground. And to make a very long story short, we basically said that we were not going to stand and just let this happen. They weren't going to take our heritage away, take our ranch away. And we had been ranching in that area for 137 years, and we're still ranching today. Because the American people responded to us standing up and saying that we're not going to allow this to happen. And in about a week's time, several thousand people started coming from all over the country, and basically we stood against this abuse of power and this force, this deadly force that was upon us, and we gave them a choice where they had to either kill us or they had to leave, and we're thankful that they chose to leave, and we are still ranching today.
Exactly. And I was there with you, and I would like to remind to the people that maybe they still thinking that, we are a country based upon the rule of law. Yes, but the law must be just and godly, because even Hitler passed many laws. Would you comply with the law made by Hitler to pretty much detain or arrest a fellow human being just because of different type of religion or ethnicity? Would you comply when the Supreme Court in America pretty much said that slavery was okay? I would have not complied with that. And when I saw fellow Americans like the Bundys, that, by the way, just to let you know, this is not about cows. This is not about grazing rights. First of all, we can talk about that too, of course, and nothing wrong with that. But this is about freedom. It's about Bill of Rights, First Amendment. When I see men and women unarmed, treated like animals, beaten up, tased, unlawfully detained, okay, just because they want to exercise the First Amendment, that would be enough. And that's why I saw that video, I jumped in the truck, and I was proud to be myself a domestic terrorist along with my fellow Americans. Because if standing for freedom today in this America of 2014 means to be a domestic terrorist, I'm proud of it. That's all I want to say, Ammon. So I'm very proud to have met you. I'm proud to have shared, even for a few days, the same land with you in the struggle. Now we are to a new struggle. It's getting even more interesting. That's why today I wanted you here. It's about an accident. It is not an accident, of course. It is about a drama, in my opinion, that happened to you and your daughter when you were at the airport in Phoenix Airport. Can we talk a little bit about that? When happened? Exactly what happened?
Yeah, so, I mean, we made that stand in April, and ever since, and we were threatened many times that we would be, basically, that this wasn't over, that we would, that they would come put an end to this, and that we were not going to get away with it. Those were type of language that we were getting from our federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And so we suspected some retaliation. We were also called, as you've mentioned many times, domestic terrorists, and even further, violent domestic terrorists. And just so people understand that, that's just not name calling. What that is that's like a criminal status, such as like a felon, but a lot worse. So it's a criminal status of a domestic terrorist, like someone who would cause harm on American people,
yeah,
and terrorize them. So this status is real. This name is not just name calling. It actually is something that could destroy your life if it was allowed to go on. So anyhow, we had wondered if it was just name calling. We had, or if they had actually had us categorized in the federal database as domestic terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that out the other day when I went to the airport to fly from Phoenix to Salt Lake with my 12-year-old daughter. We were headed up there for a family, to be with a family member who had accomplished something really wonderful, and we wanted to be with her. And when we got to the airport, everything's fine. We checked in, and I didn't notice, but my boarding pass was tagged. It had some bold lettering on it, and I didn't really realize what that meant. I haven't flown enough to realize that there was anything different.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to the actual line where the TSA, where you go in to check into to go to the boarding gates, the first guy there was just kind of telling you what line you should be in. And he looked at my boarding pass, and he stopped, and he says, basically to the effect, are you Ammon? Are you Ammon? And I said, yes. And then he didn't say anything, but he circled my name. And I had wondered, when I was waiting in line, I wondered what that was all about. I kind of was a little suspicious, but of course.
Yeah.
And then so I went through the line, and I got to the main check station there, where right before you go through metal detector and the screening. And as soon as the guy saw my boarding pass, he stopped the line. Everybody behind me is stopped and waiting, and he started calling for his supervisor, his commanding officer, and he called several times, and finally the commanding officer came, and then they basically showed it. He was showing my ticket, and they were kind of talking a little bit back and forth, and then they came and basically had me step behind the line, and then they confiscated my belongings and my daughter's belongings, and they took them up and around the screening area, and then they made us go through the screening area, like everybody else, except they had people that were with us the whole time, and just with us. And meanwhile, it's kind of making a pretty good stir. People are like wondering what's going on, why is this man and his daughter, being
treated
this way, or or like they weren't like really concerned because they weren't like abusing us or anything, but we were drawing attention, and people were wondering what was going on. So then we went through the check station, the screening area, through the metal detectors and all of that, and then they took us over behind kind of the area, and meanwhile they're going through all our stuff and digging through it, and they wanted me to go into another room, and I told them no, whatever they're going to do, they're going to do it here. And they actually didn't force me to go in another room. I didn't feel comfortable with not being out where the public was, and I wasn't going to let them put me in another room
by yourself with no witnesses.
By myself, yeah. And I didn't know what their intent was to, what they were going to do with my daughter when I was in there and all of that. So I just insisted that I stay right there and not go in some room. And anyway, make a long story short, they went through every piece of material and anything that we had in all our gear. They tested it. Then they began to interrogate us, asking us questions.
Like what? Excuse me, Ammon, what did they ask you as a question? I mean, what type of question can they ask you to a ranger or to a working man like you?
Yeah, well, I mean, most of it is like, why you're flying. They, of course, are asking like my home address, my phone numbers, and they're asking my daughter what she's doing, and just kind of those type of questions, those probing questions.
Wow.
And then they took that information, they wrote it down, and then it went to another level. So this would be the third level supervisor that actually was asking us the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And they frisked us and patted us down, and the whole 9 yards. And they did not do like cavity checks or anything like that, thankfully. But they did frisk us and pat us down pretty good.
Wow. Even to excuse me, even your daughter. I mean, you're 12 years old. I got frisked and patted down. Even her?
That's correct.
Wow.
That's correct.
This is disgusting.
Yep.
This is really disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. I mean, I'm very proud of you that you kept your coolness, and probably that's what they were trying to push you. Because I'm telling you, I have no daughters, I have no sons, but I had somebody touch my daughter or my son. I really had to do an extra effort, especially when I know these bastards. They leave the borders open. Everybody can come here. They get illegal aliens on free ticket on airplanes without any type of formal documentation. And you, American person, and your little daughter, touch her down like sex offender. Shame on them. We may not be judged today by a man, but one day God will judge these bastards. And I'm telling you with my heart, I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm disgusted. I just had breakfast. I'm throwing up now. Keep going, please, before my pressure goes up.
So then the third level supervisor or commanding officer was there and asking the questions. And they took the information, they went over to a computer, and they began to put stuff in and read stuff, and I could see that they were reading it, and that they were that they were, getting information and putting information in.
Mm-hmm.
And that went on for a little while. And then she had my boarding pass. One of them had my boarding pass, and they began to like hole punch it with the star hole punch, and they hole punched it 5 times, and right over the bold marking.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
No, I say yes. And by the way, I would like to add, I will add your photo on the website, lovegunsfreedom.com, the photo of this special ticket with stars and SSSS for S, pretty much so everybody can see exactly how it looks right now in the New America with a K, the boarding ticket of a domestic terrorist. Okay, so go to lovegunsfreedom.com and I will put your photo with your pass at today's show. Please keep going.
Excellent. Well, and I felt, and this is not verified, but I felt like those hole punches, the way they are with those stars, were to warn everybody else that the people when I was boarding.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like that was the mark, so that anybody else that I had to go through the check stations and screening or whatever would know immediately by looking at my boarding pass.
Like the Jews, that
I was targeted.
Ammon, this is the star like the Jews. When the Nazi had to put the Jews on, they say you must put the star on top of your head, okay? Simple as that, or your armband. Simple as that. History is repeating itself. Seriously, I'm not trying to be dramatic. Come on, let's put it. You didn't.
The more I think about it, the more I think about the stars and what that has meant in history.
Yeah.
And it is concerning.
Yeah, it is concerning.
And the other part is she made sure, because the lady, the one that actually hole punched it was a lady, and she made sure that it was almost like she's looking at the screen, and then she made sure there was 5 holes in it.
5.
And I don't know what that means, but the way it was done, and the way, like, she was also doing it in very specific spots on it. Like, she did it in 2 down low, and then 2 up high, and then 1 in the middle.
Yeah.
And you'll see it. And I don't know, but the way she was doing it, she even flipped over the boarding pass and punched it in a couple different spots. And then she was having a hard time with one of them getting it in the right spot. So I just watched her do that, and I thought to myself, that must mean something. How she's doing it and how many she's putting in it must all mean something to somebody down the line, so that they know who they're dealing with, or that they know that they're dealing with a domestic terrorist.
Yeah.
And
of course, we can ask questions because slaves never deserve answers. That's the bottom line, because I tell you, if I would like to ask, what are you doing? Can I ask you why you're doing this to me? And I'm sure that they will give you an answer. I mean, how dare you ask him a question about, Now, question, this treatment as domestic terrorist, I would like to ask you a very basic question. They go back to, for me, when I learned the basic concept of the Bill of Rights at the United States Constitution when I became an American, that everybody is innocent until proven guilty. And we all deserve a due process, or at least we're supposed to. Not anymore, of course, with the National Defense Authorization Act and the Patriot Act, but technically we still deserve a due process where we can face our accusers, go in front of a judge, and then we'll see if we are guilty or innocent. Did you have a chance to go in front of a judge or a trial or a jury to be treated like that? I mean, now you declare by the state a domestic terrorist. Did you ever face your accusers or it's a trial about this?
No, not at all. In fact, I've never even been accused of it other than publicly.
Mm-hmm.
There's never been any, arrests or charges or anything to that nature at all. In fact, the only ticket I've ever had is just a traffic violation, and for a couple of them for speeding or something,
Mm-hmm. Now,
and I've never had anything that has or done anything that has put me at the, that I should even be considered this type of threat or being under this status. And that is the problem here. I know that's, what you're making this point is that, we have individuals and a government that is willing to use the people's power, because that's the only power they have, is that they're willing to use the people's power to destroy individuals' lives because they are standing against what they're doing, what they're trying to do. And that's why this is such an important thing for everybody to understand, that this is exactly history repeating itself.
Ammon, I would like to say something now. This is something mostly for everybody else out there listening. Not because it did not happen to you right now means that you have to just ignore this. This tomorrow could happen to your daughter, to your son, to yourself, to your mother. This is so important. I would like to remind everybody this is happening because we have two pieces of legislation in the last 14 years. The people now, they want to blame it all on Obama. That's fine. He's pretty much a big part of it. But let's not forget also Bush and the Patriot Act. We have two pieces of legislation that all of us should maybe read it again. It's called the Patriot Act 1 and 2, and then the National Defense Authorization Act. Both presidents, they've been guilty. Both Congress and Senate being guilty, most of them at least. Now, are you familiar with the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012, Ammon? Did you ever heard about that?
I have. I'm not as familiar as I probably should be.
Let me give you the short story, and I tell you why I think you did a very smart move to do not go in a private room without witnesses. And this is just my opinion, of course, but also backed by what I read. I'm able to read this piece of legislation. I give you the very short summary. Right now in America, 2014, we are exactly before the document called Magna Carta. You remember that during the Magna Carta, the king, before put you in jail, must have habeas corpus, the body of the crime. Must have a reason. They can just put you in jail and forget about you, okay? Now, thanks to Obama, Congress, the Senate, and then let's not blame it just on Democrats, because Republicans, they were behind that so much, that McCain, Lindsey Graham, and all of them, okay? So both of them, both parties, with Obama in charge, they created these pieces of legislation that bring us back before the Magna Carta, and exactly it says that any one of us, American people, can be declared enemy combatant, and without any type of due process, like happens right now to Mr. Bundy, with any type of judge, jury, trial, anything, just because suspected, let me say again the word suspected, not convicted to be a terrorist, you can be detained forever, unlimited detention. You can also be tortured and killed. This is not a conspiracy. This is the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012. Obama signed it. Obama wanted it. And then he said, of course, after when he passed, no, we're never going to use this power. This is just for extreme situation. They always say that. The point now, they have that power. I don't care if it's unconstitutional. They still have all these drones and zombies there of the TSA. They think they can do pretty much everything they want to us. And I'm telling you, Ammon, you remember other parts of the world, like in Chile, during Pinochet, they call the white deaths. 20,000 people disappeared. Never came back home. Okay? It's so happened in Italy during Mussolini, happened in Germany, happened in Russia, and happened in any other tyranny. We are here at this point. So I'm glad you did the right thing. First of all, you had God on your side. I really believe that, because these things can be accelerated to a new level. You never know what happened. A movement or a bad word or some sort of emotional reaction, you could have been probably tased again if you were lucky. But the fact now that everybody must understand, this is not America. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican. I don't care if you like cows or if you're a vegetarian. This is not about that. This is about freedom, for God's sake. Seriously. How would you feel to be like that, treated like that in front of your daughter? You know, my heart breaks just to think about that. Now, I'm on another important thing. This is something that's going to happen next 90 days, probably. I also talked about this last Sunday during the show. that the feds retaliate against your Bundy Ranch, I mean your family, and also all the other people of Southern Nevada, with another piece of paper and ink, because it's pretty much is a federal notice. And what they're trying to do, they try to create an area of critical environmental concern, ACEC. And they are all human restricted management areas. That means us slaves, human beings, we are not allowed to be there. Okay? So they will close roads, exclude the trails, they will pretty much create all these things. Tell me what you think about it.
Yeah, so it's really the same thing as what's going on with what happened to me at the airport. And what I mean by that is, it is government, whether we're talking about Congress or agencies, exercising unlimited powers without checks and balances and without separation of powers. And just like putting someone on a list without due process, there are certain rules that this country is founded upon, laws and constitutional rights that are founded upon, that are being violated by our federal government, and also, by our state and by our counties at times. These ACECs, areas of critical environmental concern, are basically done at a agency level.
Yes.
So, for example, we're talking about 3.1 million acres in southern Nevada, including all of the ranch. And we have to lay this out. They wanted the ranch. They wanted to take the ranch. The ranch has been in the family for 137 years. We run around 600 head of cattle on it. And it covers a space of about 200,000 acres, because it takes a lot of cattle, or it takes a lot of land for a small amount of cattle to live on the desert. So, and they wanted this land. For whatever reason, there's lots of reasons that are being thrown around of why they want the land, but they want it. They tried to get it through environmental species. 20 plus years ago, they said the desert tortoise was an endangered species, and therefore we have to remove all the cattle off the land. We have to remove all the mining, all the hunting, all that off the land to protect the desert tortoise.
Yeah, right.
And my dad said no at that time. No, I'm not going to let you do that. I've been, this ranch has been passed down to me from my forefathers. We came into this land first. We were here way before you guys. And you're not going to do this to us.
Ammon, I can say something. Ammon, one second. Sorry to interrupt. Even if I was there the last day, I'm just a fresh immigrant out of the boat a few years ago, okay? And I'm an American now. It's illogical. It's crazy. It's completely out of control. If you tell me that I bought a house there, I bought a ranch, now federal government tell me, no, sorry, because there is a turtle or a jumping mouse there, you got to pack your stuff and go. I say, screw you. Seriously.
Yeah.
Screw you.
Exactly.
This is completely nihilistic. Against the human species, for God's sake.
Absolutely. So, but the thing is it has nothing to do with the animal or the species at all. It's all about controlling land and resources. They actually have used the environmental community worse than they've used anybody else. They basically said, hey, they've used their activism, they've used their money, they've used everything, and it's not just to protect the animals, it's to gain control of land and resources. And the desert tortoise example is perfect, because now they have so many desert tortoises, they're euthanizing them.
Yeah,
They've
about it.
already euthanized over 10,000 tortoises.
On our tax dollar, yeah.
And the ranch was supposed to be a mitigation area for the tortoises. They never did put any tortoises on them. No. They put them in a facility, and they got so populated that they started getting sick, and so now they're killing them.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the animals. It has to do with controlling the land and resources, getting control of the land and resources.
And the magic keyword, I'm sure you already know, and my listeners, they know, but in case somebody's new listening to the show, it's called Agenda 21. And it's so important, this word. We don't have enough time now to go through this together, but I've been talking about this over and over the last year. Please Google it, Agenda 21. There is an incredible book, Behind the Green Mask, by Royce Corey. And by the way, this book was written by a Democrat. Democrats against Agenda 21. This is not just a right-wing conspiracy, okay? This is a fact. Check it out. Please keep going.
Yeah. So to tie this back to the ACECs, so my dad stood 21 years ago, said that he's not going to leave the land. So they basically at that time said he's trespassing.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was very clear with them and has been very clear since then that the land that he ranches on, the public land, because he does ranch on most of its public land,
Mm-hmm.
he ranches on is state land, not U.S. territory.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that there's a difference. When a state becomes a state, everything changes at that moment. Everything changes. It no longer is U.S. territory. It is supposed to be governed by the people of the state. And it's supposed to be disposed of and sold to the people. And the state is what handles all that constitutionally, not the federal government. So anyway, that's the position that my dad stood on. They basically said that he was trespassing, and they said he's been trespassing for the last 20-plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And so in April, they came down and tried to remove my father from the ranch, and they, did all the things that they did, tased us, threw us on the ground, detained us, beat us, sicked their dogs on us, killed the cattle, and locked the whole community out of their lands, terrorized the community. It was just unbelievable what they were willing to do, what force they were willing to come down upon both our family and the community to control this land.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they were not able to get it done.
Yes.
The people stood, said, "You're not going to do this." America surrounded the people. The community came together. And it was a wonderful display of the people's power. And it was peaceful.
Yes.
One person got shot. Nothing. There wasn't a war.
No. And they pointed guns at us. Okay. The point is, people are trying to blame now. Oh, there are militia pointing guns at whatever they are, feds. Honestly, most of them, they were mercs. You know that. The point is, lucky, if I am in the real world, according to the Arizona state law, if somebody point a gun at me, I have enough probable cause to defend myself because I really believe they may want to kill me. Okay, I'm fearing for my life. So these bastards, behind the coward in behind the SUV, tax-paid SUV, they were pointing loaded rifles at us. And the only thing, probably this didn't explode in violence. They didn't beat us up and tase us and probably shoot us because we had still law-abiding citizens. And the fact that they didn't shoot means that we don't look for violence, ready to defend our lives. And this is very important. They pointed the guns at us first. They should be criminal charged to point loaded guns on an unarmed American citizen. Because down there in the canyon, where we were there facing them, all of us, we were unarmed, okay? And if we had some sidearms on us, they were in the holster. They weren't pointed at them, okay? That's the bottom line. And I was there, I documented that on video, and I find disgusting. These people, they leave the borders open. They cannot even point a loaded rifle against drug dealers at the southern border, otherwise they get sued. But they have the audacity to treat us like criminals, worse than criminals. I think criminals have more rights. Now, what situation with this new takeover? By the way, the BLM is behind all this. There's not even Congress involved. This sort of pieces of bureaucratic paper and ink that for me they're worth as much as toilet paper, seriously. They want to take over now 3 million acres in southern Nevada with these executive pieces of bureaucratic paper, according to the areas of critical environmental concern. Technically, 90 days from October the 10th, 2014, these will become effective. So that means we're talking about the beginning of a new year, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So
what's going to happen?
So they basically said, well, we couldn't go down by force and do this because the people wouldn't have it. So now we're going to retaliate against Nevada, Southern Nevada, and the Bundy Ranch by filing in the Federal Registry that they're going to make all of this land areas of critical environmental concern. And this is a major problem that we have to identify. These agencies, it's not even like the Bureau, it's not even the BLM. It is the BLM, but it's just the local offices,
Mm-hmm.
the local Pahrump and Las Vegas offices.
Yeah.
Actually, just take and file in the Federal Registry to make all of this land ACECs,
Yeah.
and then in 90 days it becomes federal law. It never was legislated.
Yeah.
The people never got to, the state never approved it. They didn't pay for it. None of that.
This is complete tyranny, complete tyranny. I mean, what you say is so important. It's no even BLM itself would be bad enough in Washington, but we're talking about the local office of your district there. All they have to do, get some paper, write down with some ink, some crap, okay, and at that point file it. And tomorrow they can file that maybe your home can be on sacred and holy land that pretty much belongs to the government. And I've been sarcastic, of course. So my point is this one here: where is Congress? Where is your congressman? First of all, let's celebrate that Harry Reid seems like he's gonna pack his stuff and go for a moment. It seems after this election, that's a good start. But I'm not that confident with the Republicans either, because so far, they've been part of the same travesty. But maybe now they have finally the chance to show that they're gonna save the day. Did you have any feedback from your congressman?
We from the the one thing that we have to understand, and what we believe is that the problem here is the state is not acting like a state.
That's true.
The state's not standing up and saying, hey, this is not U.S. territory. You don't have the right to even control or own or do anything inside this state.
All right.
And so we haven't been petitioning, Congress and the federal government at all, because they're going to do what we allow them to do as a state and a people.
It's true. That's
And
true.
so we've been petitioning our local state leaders and county leaders to start acting like a state and start being that fourth check and balance to protect our life, liberty, and property. And we're starting to get a little more response. I got a call from one of the Assembly Nevada State Assembly woman yesterday, saying that they are the Republicans have taken both the Senate and the House, and that they are looking to these issues to basically take these lands back like they were supposed to be when Nevada became a state in 1864.
Yeah, and first of all, they should fire these pieces of, I don't know, I don't want to call names, but this individual at the BLM that he thinks has such a power like God, seriously, to start to write stuff on paper and tell you that you must leave that area because humans, they're not allowed. This man should be arrested right now. Seriously, forget about getting, some sort of firing. This person, they are paid by our tax dollars. They are less than worms. Seriously, I'm disgusted. And I'm not kidding.
It's pretty amazing.
It's amazing. I mean, think about the arrogance, their mindset to think, okay, now 3 million. So let's remind to the listeners, this is not just about taking over. I don't care if it was just one ranch. It's their property, for God's sake. This is not Stalin and under Russia, but we are like now. Stalin, that's what he did. They went in Ukraine and decided to take over property. And if they didn't go along with the good ways, guess what? They went and got shot. All the different peasants, all the different farmers. Exactly things happening here. They have now, of course, a more noble cause. They try to say that this is about saving the world, saving the environment. Agenda 21, it's a pile of crap. Because this land, we have already proofs that is being taken from the people, and then it will be pretty much shared to corporations. We already know about the deals they were trying to do with the solar plant right there, and they will still go. Chinese pretty much owns most of this land, or at least they want to own it. And there is more and more and more coming down. And this is the point now, guys. We can talk about this all day long. But after when we understand and we realize that we are right now in a new America, and now it's under our watch that we have to do something. We have to start to do something. We cannot just ignore this and say, okay, it's happening in Nevada. I live in Maryland. I don't really care. Guess what? You're going to be next anyway. You're already a slave probably in Maryland anyway. But that's the point. I'm just making an example. So it's time that we got to do something. And I give you the practical thing here. In 90 days, hell probably is going to knock at the doors of the Bundys. And not just the Bundys. There are 3 million acres there. What are the responses of the other ranchers now? Other farmers, what are they saying after these pieces of paper crap? What are they saying?
What's that?
I say all these ranchers around you, you're not the only one living on these 3 million acres, correct? I mean, there are other people.
Well, actually, we are. There used to be 53 ranchers in this area.
Wow.
But they pushed them all out and run them all out because over the past 20 years, and my dad is the only one left.
Oh my gosh. So
Out of 53 ranchers, he's the only one left, and the reason he's the only one left is because he's the only one that wouldn't compromise with them.
wow.
All the rest of them are like, they started putting higher regulations on the ranchers where they couldn't run as many cattle or they couldn't run certain years or certain months. And all of these things were regulating these ranchers until they couldn't survive anymore. And that was their goal. They were regulating the ranchers right out of business.
Exactly.
Well, my dad said, no, you don't have the right to do that. I understand the Constitution.
Yeah.
You don't have the right to be here doing that. And I'm not going to abide by your regulations.
I agree.
And so he's the only one he's the only one that's there.
But anyway, the people of Nevada, regardless that they have a ranch or not there, they still maybe may enjoy or want to enjoy, even if they don't like the outdoors. But I think it's there, if they are human beings, free Americans and free Nevadians, or whatever you want to call it, and they don't like to be treated like slaves, they should understand that a freaking agency like BLM is supposed not to have that power to put off limits to humans 3 million acres. That's the point I'm trying to say. We should all stick together. I don't care where you're from. If you're from Hawaii, California, Arizona, if there is some bureaucrat, some minion, some sort of a bloodsucker at some state agency, federal agency, like this guy at the BLM, he has that type of power. Tomorrow they can do the same thing in your state, your district. So it's time we need to start to understand that this is happening under our watch. I'm not saying call to arms, but at least call to your hearts. Call to the love for freedom. Call to for love for your human beings, your fellow humans, for your fellow Americans. We should all go. I don't care even just a day, an hour. Support them. Support us. If you support now the people in Nevada that they are going to face this tyranny in the next couple of months, indirectly we are supporting the rest of us. And hopefully we can show to these people behind the scenes operating in the darkness that they have no power. It's few of them. They can have a few mercenaries around there. That's fine. But they cannot kill us all. They may try, but guess what? I'm not advocating for violence, but I'm not Gandhi, okay? I don't want to shoot the first round. But if somebody shoot at me, I have the human right, the American right, to defend my family, myself, and my freedom. Ammon Bundy, I really respect you. I respect your family. And this is coming from a guy that doesn't even eat cows. You know that? I'm a kind of, I don't eat meat. But I love you, man. This is not about meat. This is not about cows. This is about freedom. And I'm so proud that to become an American and to have the chance to meet people like you, to show the rest of the world that in America we still have the DNA to stand up for freedom, and it's up to us how much tyranny we're going to let happen, okay? So I want to give you the floor for the last message, whatever you want to say, and then I would like to ask you, of course, to keep us updated. Anything's happening there. We are just a few hours away here in Mojave County. I'll be happy to be with you again, okay? So please go ahead.
You.
I'll leave you the floor, the last phrase or whatever you want to say. Go ahead. You got the floor.
Well, I just want to say that the answers are found in the U.S. Constitution, and we are a law-abiding people. And that law is the Constitution of the United States. And it protects us. It allows us to be able to ranch and be able to live and to be able to have our freedoms protected. And even though these codes and these regulations will be upon us here in less than 90 days, the Bundy family plans on ranching, and that's what they're going to continue to do. And that's what each of us should do. We should continue to do and continue to exercise our rights. And when our rights are violated, then we must stand and do whatever it takes to restore them.
Very good, man. Very good. I'll dedicate for you a song I wrote in the CD, Don't Tread on Us. The song is called Here They Come, dedicated to all the free people of Nevada and the Bundy's Ranch.
come. They're coming for your guns. Here they come. They're coming for your sons. Here they come. They're coming for your land. Are you ready to stand? Are you ready to stand? Here they come. The end has just begun. Here they come. This time we won't run. Here they come. Together we're not outdone. If we fight as one, if we fight as one, we'd rather live free for just one day than be your slaves, than be your slaves. We'd rather live free for just one day than obey. We're not afraid. The truth has risen. Our minds have no more prisons. Your illusions have disappeared. In the sun we have no fear. Now is our time to expose your crimes. Now is our time. Now is our time. And now we know your names. We know your final game. You're just pathetic scum. You worship death and then some. And here we draw the line. And we're feeling fine. And we're feeling fine. And we're feeling fine. We'd rather live free for just one day than be your slaves. Than be your slaves. We'd rather live free for just one day than obey. We're not afraid.
We are not afraid of you. Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, the Bilderbergs, New World Order. We are not afraid of you.
We'd rather live free, free for just one day, than be your slave, than be your slave. We'd rather live free for just one day than obey. We're not afraid. Here they come.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid.
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna
I'm not afraid.
and his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.